After being missing for over 6 days, a photo finally emerged of President Biden, but from a drone or something. Probably because when he was actually seen, he was still walking oddly stiff. Barely even better than those Tesla bots. Especially after he landed, he couldn't even process a simple question.
Why did you drop out of the election? Was it a difficult decision to make?
Which begs the other question, who the heck is this catfish president? Because he definitely doesn't look like his profile picture, or even how he was seen earlier this week with his interview on BET. But a shape-shifting president is nothing new, as 2 months ago we saw him change faces over what they called was a cold. 2 weeks ago we saw him transform his mouth with whatever they gave him for the debate, so if they marched out this after his resignation, I'm sure the majority of Americans would just accept it. And whatever they're doing to try to make Biden look normal, they need to stop, as it always backfires, because there's better ways to fix your face. That's why it's great we have the sponsor for today's video, Manscaped.com, the global men's lifestyle brand revolutionizing men's grooming, bringing you the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra in this white-hot colorway just for the summer, featuring an updated trimmer with wider, longer, rounded teeth to trim the hair with ease, which can be easily swapped out for the foil blades that I personally use all over my arms to give my art that smooth, clean finish without the need for a razor blade or shaving cream, as it includes a dual-temperature LED light for even your deepest of crevices, taking full advantage that it's still waterproof. So join me and the 10 million men that trust Manscaped for their grooming needs and check out manscaped.com to get yours today. Then use my promo code DECOY to get 20% off and free international shipping at checkout. That's 20% off plus free shipping with promo code DECOY at manscaped.com. So as Biden wanders off, barely able to walk, Vice President Harris is now accepting the nomination as the Democrats' candidate.
We have earned the support of enough delegates to secure the Democratic nomination.
Immediately going into more campaign lies.
But Donald Trump wants to take our country backward. He and his extreme Project 2025 agenda.
As earlier this month, Trump clearly stated he knows nothing about Project 2025, saying they're absolutely ridiculous and abysmal and he has nothing to do with them. So it's on brand when she goes into more lies.
And we, who believe in reproductive freedom, will stop Donald Trump's extreme abortion bans.
And again, he recently said the opposite of what she's claiming.
To put it simply, it's now up to the states.
So you wouldn't support a national ban?
No, I wouldn't support a national ban. No, I would not.
That's why I say the Democrats are officially the party of the low-information voter. Not to be mean, but for the simple fact that if you still support them, you almost have to be blissfully unaware of the constant fiction they're shoving in your face, trying to scare you into subservience. But the more blatant their lies become, the more desperate the Democrats will have to act. As after much criticism, the Secret Service director stepped down. Now we're not going to go down the road of exactly why she resigned, but just to highlight how Trump basically blames the Biden-Harris administration for not being able to properly protect him, saying even after he survived, they didn't want him to have his triumphant moment.
Well, they wanted to put me on a stretcher. They had a stretcher, and they wanted to put me on a stretcher, and I said, I'm not going on a stretcher. I said, I'm telling you, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm gonna get up, I wanna get up, I'm not gonna be taken out on a stretcher. We had a little argument. Well, I have 6 guys lying on top of me.
But now, instead of fixing their capabilities, they're apparently shutting down his ability to campaign.
The Secret Service is apparently now telling or asking the Trump campaign to stop doing their rallies outdoors. I asked Don Jr. about that at the RNC last week, if he was going to encourage his father to stop holding rallies outdoors. He said that his father would not like that at all. He loves those outdoor rallies.
As Trump's crowd in Butler, Pennsylvania was huge, but also in Deep Blue, New Jersey saw the same. And even AOC's district in New York looked like this. Meanwhile, with all the momentum in the world, Kamala Harris can barely fill up what they're calling a stadium, but is actually just a high school gymnasium. a tiny gym that had to be curtained off halfway, with not even half a basketball court until they have to fill the space with members of the media. And it's sad, but we're now questioning everything the Biden administration does, because this isn't the first time a presidential candidate has been in danger, but instead of solving their shortcomings, they're just going to level the playing field between the candidates. As even though the Secret Service boasted about forcing their ranks to be 30% female,
as I sit in this chair now, of making sure that we need to attract diverse candidates and ensure that we are developing and giving opportunities to everybody in our workforce, and particularly women.
The former director seemed to be able to get herself a detail of 100% large males, which makes me wonder if they're simply incapable or just unwilling to do what it takes to keep Trump safe. But then again, maybe they know something we don't know about, as right after the attempt on his life, there was hundreds of idiots online cheering it on, so maybe it's just impossible to track every single one of those potential issues, as the media's rhetoric that encouraged the first attempt is immediately being repeated with Kamala.
That is fighting Kamala Harris. She is coming out guns blazing,
as they're desperately trying to materialize some hype for Harris.
People have been thirsting for this.
Tim, I'm jumping out my seat higher than you, my brother. I'm just going to say that.
And I got chills when she said, Donald Trump, I know your type.
And Joy Reid just won up the whole, if you don't vote for Biden, then you ain't black, by suggesting if you don't vote for Harris, then you're white.
You're going to look real crazy being on the other side of that line, particularly as a person of color. But really as anyone who claims to have any connection to the culture. You're going to look real weird and real lonely on that side.
And I would laugh at her for suggesting such a stupid thing, but sadly, those commands actually work on the weak-willed, and just because we laugh at their absurdity, we can't forget that some people are stupid enough to comply, as they're really doubling down.
The singer Charlie XCX tweeted last night, Kamala is brat. And this is in reference to her album. It's called Brat. Kamala has branded her Kamala HQ Twitter page with the same aesthetic.
I am supposed to say, that's brat.
Which has the most how do you do fellow kids energy imaginable, until you see people actually embracing this so-called trend. But my question is, what were all those Patriot Fed dudes doing during all of this? As I honestly wouldn't be surprised if these were the same exact guys. And that's why you subscribe to this channel, not for hard-hitting investigative journalism about the real issues, it's just that somebody's gotta point out the painfully obvious, as the whole feds with their matching haircuts and sunglasses practically glowing has now become mean levels of lazy where they're practically just shoving it in our faces now. As the media knows, if you're still watching them now, you're probably stupid.
They want to call her a DEI president or DEI candidate. She has more experience than Trump and JD Vance combined times a million.
So real quick, he's claiming that Kamala has more experience cackling behind the scenes than the guy that has 4 years of experience being the actual president.
Whenever you hear DEI, I want you to think about the N-word. I want you to think about racial slurs. That's what they actually mean.
Yes, how dare you point out the same exact thing that they reported 4 years ago, almost to the day, that Kamala Harris was specifically chosen for her race and gender. So no wonder Trump's starting to take away the Democrats' base in nearly every metric other than single white woman, as Black Lives Matter of all places is calling out Kamala's sudden run for president, pointing out how nobody voted for her, but one day Biden drops out, then the next day she magically gets enough delegates to be the Democrats' nominee, and how they're treating this like a dictatorship, making them a party of hypocrites. So when BLM calls you out for being a hypocrite, and people from both the left and the right just nod in agreement, you know you've gone too far. As the Israeli Prime Minister arrived in America to speak to the president, angry leftists stormed the Capitol to express their disapproval at the Democrats. Now, even though both Biden and Harris refused to meet with the Prime Minister as he arrived, apparently he's choosing to meet with President Trump now. And even the President of Palestine wrote to Trump, stating differences must be resolved through communication and wishing him strength and safety. Just imagine the madness in their minds if after all these activists trashed college campuses all across the country, only for Donald Trump to step in and bring them peace in the Middle East again. And that's before he even steps in office, so who knows who would still be voting for Harris at that point. And before you say, how could Trump stop the war, the prospect of a second Trump presidency might actually be stopping the other war too.
I think all of us understand that we have to finish the war as soon as possible.
So maybe that's why the only people excited about the Democrats in power choosing their nominee is the Democrats in power.
We are here today to throw our support behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm clapping. You don't have to.
Yeah. It's hard for even liberal voters to get excited about the candidate that back in 2020 couldn't even get a single delegate, polled at 1%, but suddenly behind closed doors is chosen over allegedly the most popular president in history. Because this isn't democracy, this was just a plagiarized plot from Game of Thrones, where the decrepit old leader has no idea what's going on. His second in command hides him from the public until he's just weak enough for her to pounce at the possibility of taking power. And if you think Game of Thrones political coups sound crazy, Yellowstone looks like it's erupting, giving us a live volcano in Wyoming. Then we're starting to see sharks on coke swimming up from South America. And this is all suddenly happening in 1 week to distract us from the fact that this happened just 10 days ago, when it honestly feels like it happened at least last month. But we've been so inundated with crazy theories, new revelations, shady backroom deals, and now frat boy party sharks. And it all sounds funny until you realize they've successfully washed away the headlines about the most important story of the election, the one that probably seals a second Trump presidency. So if you appreciate my concise, lighthearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, hopefully I've earned your subscription, then go check out the video about what happens when celebrities find out that supporting Biden no longer protects them.